She drove across his farm like it was her personal shortcut. Twice a day. Every day, and Ethan knew the moment he stopped her. The HOA would come for his land. Ethan Miller had inherited a quiet piece of farmland outside Maple Ridge, fresh grass, wooden fences, and a small barn that felt like peace itself. But peace didn't last. A new gated community had been built near the edge of his property, and one HOA board member, Linda Harper, decided Ethan's dirt path was the most convenient route to the clubhouse. At first, Ethan tried to be polite. He put up signs, private property. No trespassing. Linda ignored them. Then she started cutting across deeper, leaving tire tracks through his crop rows like scars. Ethan recorded it all: date, time, plates, everything. He even tried talking to her face to face. Linda smiled like she owned the world. "It's basically a shared route," she said, waving him off, but Ethan had a plan. Not anger. Not revenge. A trap built with patience. One morning, Ethan stood at the edge of his field watching Linda's SUV speed toward the path again. He didn't move. He simply pressed a button on his phone, activating the first step. Linda had no idea she was about to drive into the fastest lesson of her life. The next time Linda drove across the farm, the path looked the same: wide, dry, and familiar. That's why she didn't slow down. She never did. Her SUV bounced over the dirt like she was proud of it, coffee in one hand, sunglasses on, completely unbothered by the damage she caused, but Ethan had spent the night preparing. He didn't dig a dramatic hole or build something dangerous. He simply placed heavy farm barriers, thick wooden posts, and a reinforced chain gate right where the path narrowed between two fence lines. From a distance it blended in, hidden behind tall grass. Linda saw it too late. She slammed the brakes, tires skidding. The SUV slid sideways and stopped at a sharp angle. One wheel sank into soft soil near the fence where Ethan had recently watered. The more she tried to reverse, the deeper it sank. Her engine whined, and her face turned red. Ethan walked over slowly, calm, holding his phone like a silent witness. Linda stepped out furious. "Are you out of your mind?" she screamed. "Move this right now. I have HOA business." Ethan didn't raise his voice. "This is my land," he said. "You've been trespassing for weeks." Linda pointed a shaking finger. "You'll regret this. I'm calling the HOA and the police. You just trapped me." Ethan smiled, small, controlled. "No, Linda," he said. "You trapped yourself." Linda didn't notice the tiny camera on the fence post, recording everything in perfect detail. Within an hour, 2 HOA board members arrived with Linda, both dressed like they were coming to court, not a farm. Linda's SUV was still stuck, mud splashed along the tires like evidence. She acted like a victim, pacing and shouting while pointing at Ethan's gate. "This is harassment," she declared loudly. He blocked a community access route. Ethan didn't argue. He simply opened a folder and handed them printed photos, tire tracks across crops, close-ups of broken fence wire, timestamped screenshots from his cameras. The board members glanced at each other, uncomfortable. Linda snatched the papers. "Fake," she barked. "He staged this. The HOA has an easement. We can drive here." Ethan's eyes stayed steady. "Show me the easement paperwork," he replied. Linda froze for half a second. Then she switched tactics. "Fine," she said coldly. "If you want war, you'll get it. I'm issuing fines. Daily. And we'll take legal action to force access." That night Ethan received an official-looking notice taped to his mailbox: HOA violation, obstruction of community passage. A fine of $500. Then another letter threatening liens. Ethan's stomach tightened, not because he was scared, but because he knew what they were trying to do: drown him in pressure until he gave up. But Ethan had already contacted a property attorney. And the attorney said one sentence that changed everything. "Let them escalate. We'll use their own documents against them." Ethan looked at the stack of HOA letters like a countdown timer. Linda thought she was winning. She had no idea she was building the case that would destroy her. The HOA didn't stop. They doubled down like bullies who hated being challenged. More letters arrived. More fines. Then came the biggest threat of all, an official notice claiming the HOA would seek a court order to restore shared access and recover damages. Linda walked through the neighborhood telling everyone Ethan was anti-community and dangerous. Some residents believed her. Others quietly watched, unsure who was telling the truth. Ethan felt the weight of it, people whispering, his name becoming a problem, but he kept working his farm. Quiet. Focused. Recording everything. Then one afternoon, a survey crew showed up at his property line with bright vests and clipboards. Linda stood behind them smiling like she was already celebrating. "We're marking the easement," she announced. "You can't stop us." Ethan asked for their documents. The crew leader handed him a map. Ethan studied it and felt his pulse change, not panic, but certainty. The map was wrong. It showed a community passage cutting through land that was never part of any HOA agreement. Ethan called his attorney immediately. The attorney's voice sharpened. "That's not an easement," she said. "That's a fabrication." That night Ethan posted a new sign on his fence, "No trespassing, active surveillance." Then he installed an additional camera angle focused directly on the path. Linda saw the sign the next morning and laughed. She drove her SUV toward the route again, determined to prove she still could, but Ethan had upgraded his plan. Not with force, with proof so clean it would end everything, and this time, Linda wasn't just going to get stuck in mud, she was going to get stuck in court. Court day arrived like a storm wrapped in silence. Ethan sat calmly beside his attorney, while Linda entered with dramatic confidence, heels clicking, papers stacked, face full of victory. She whispered to her HOA lawyer like she was already planning the celebration. The judge asked the first question, "Where is the legal easement document?" Linda's lawyer presented a file. Ethan's attorney stood and politely requested to cross-check the county records. Then she submitted something that made Linda's smile fade, official county maps and property deeds, stamped and certified. The judge leaned forward. "This land is not part of your HOA, he said slowly. Linda tried to speak. "But the community has used it for months." The judge cut her off. "Use does not create ownership." Then Ethan's attorney played the video, Linda driving across crops, ignoring signs, laughing at warnings, and finally, her SUV stuck while she screamed, claiming it was shared property. The courtroom grew quiet. Even Linda's lawyer looked uncomfortable. Ethan's attorney revealed the final blow, emails from Linda instructing the survey crew to mark a new easement route, even though no legal process existed. It wasn't a mistake. It was an attempt to take land by pressure. The judge's voice turned cold. "That is improper and deceptive." Linda's face drained of color. Then the judge said the words Linda never expected. "I'm considering sanctions." Linda's breath caught. She came to win a shortcut. Instead, she had just walked into a trap built from her own arrogance. The ruling didn't just shut Linda down, it exposed her. The judge dismissed the HOA's claims and ordered the HOA to stop all trespassing immediately. But that wasn't the worst part. The judge looked directly at Linda and asked, "Are you the person who issued these fines and threats?" Linda hesitated, but the evidence was everywhere. Her signature. Her emails. Her words. She nodded. The judge sighed. "Then you personally contributed to harassment." Ethan felt something heavy lift off his chest. Months of pressure, letters, whispers, finally turning into justice. Outside the courthouse, residents from Maple Ridge gathered, stunned. Some had followed the case online after Ethan's attorney filed the documents publicly. People began realizing the truth. Linda hadn't been protecting the community. She had been abusing power. The HOA board called an emergency meeting that same week. Linda tried to walk in like she still owned the room. But the faces around the table were different now, cold, cautious, embarrassed. One board member slid a paper toward her. "We're voting to remove you," he said. Linda laughed nervously. "You can't do that." The member replied, "We can. And we will." Ethan didn't attend. He stayed on his farm, repairing the damaged fence, planting new rows where tires had crushed the soil. His peace was returning, slowly, like sunrise after a long night. Then Ethan received a final letter in the mail. Not from the HOA, from Linda's personal lawyer, and the number written on it made Ethan pause. $185,000. Linda didn't just lose her shortcut, she lost everything she used to threaten others with. The court's sanctions, legal fees, and damages piled up fast. Her lawyer's letter offered a settlement, but it wasn't an offer from power. It was a request for mercy. Ethan's attorney explained it clearly. Linda had caused financial harm, property damage, and attempted to fabricate an easement. The HOA insurance refused to cover her actions because she acted outside her authority. That meant the cost landed on her personally, $185,000. Linda tried to save herself by blaming the HOA, blaming neighbors, blaming Ethan. But the truth had already spread through the community like fire. Residents demanded audits. The HOA president resigned. New rules were created to stop future abuse. One afternoon, Ethan saw Linda's SUV drive slowly past his farm road, not turning in, not speeding, just passing like a person who finally understood boundaries. She didn't look proud anymore. She looked small. Ethan placed one final sign near the fence line: private farm, no access, thank you, no anger. No drama. Just peace, because the real victory wasn't money or court orders. It was the quiet lesson Linda could never ignore again: you can't bully someone who stays calm, collects proof, and knows their rights. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.